What is up, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of Packer Report TV. I am your host and the publisher of that very website, Ross Uglum, and today we are breaking down all things film from Green Bay's win down in Nashville, moving to 2-1 in the season, and moving to 2-0 with Malik Willis as the quarterback, and Dusty Evely joining me now. Dusty, I really felt like I think we mentioned on the last show that the PFF podcast had sort of said, like, hey, this was probably the best coaching job after the Indianapolis win. I think that even goes beyond that. If folks can read my film review stuff on Packer Report that got posted yesterday, I feel real strongly about that because, this was a situation where the number one weapon I felt that they had against Indy was the interior run.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat said, not up in here. And so to have a Malik Willis game plan without the interior run and still get to 30, I know there's a pick six, so get to 23, but goodness.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that, and the Packers certainly knew that with how they opened the game, and you could see it. I think it softened up a little more in the second half as far as the middle. Every time they tried to run up the middle, it was like a yard, right? Like they got nothing. They were very much in the run game trying to attack the edges. They called up some more shots for Willis. They expanded the passing game like a little bit, like not too much in terms of what they were doing, but really was just how do we attack the edges knowing that like they are going to try to take away the edges from us. Like I said, just a tremendous job. Willis played well. I mean, and that's the coaching job was great. Willis was absolutely nails on a couple of third down throws, dude. Like Willis,
Yes.
when he had to hit, he hit a 3rd and 14 to Dobbs. He hit a 3rd and 18 to Watson. He had on that first drive, it was like a 3rd and 8 slot fade that Watson went up and mossed a guy. Like, so I mean, the coaching job was tremendous. Players came to play too. Like it was a tremendous job all the way around by this team.
That's the thing to me about Willis. Like you go from the Colts game and how conservative they were with him, and you're thinking, okay, super good athlete. If you design like they did, like you design 14, 15, 16, 18 throws for him, it at least allows you to do kind of a creative run game. And, if you get to 20, you hope your defense holds the other team to 17. That's a win. Get the hell out of there. Mm-hmm. I get that game plan. When you can't run the ball north and south and you get in 3rd and 8, heavy penalty day. And this is not the ref show. Okay. The ref show was Sunday. We're not going to do that, but so many 3rd and longs where it's like, okay, Malik, you have to make a throw. We might make it a single read. Like I think the Watson conversion was a single read. I don't think, that was okay. We're going to run a deep over with a sit by Jaden Reed. He's going to try to occupy this corner. We're going to throw it in behind this corner, and it worked. And I don't know if that wouldn't have been open. If it would have been a throwaway, if it would have been a scramble. I guess if the corner doesn't come up, you just flip it to Jaden Reed and try and set up a 48, 47-yard field goal, whatever. But I think they still made the answers to the test pretty easy, but he passed the test, man. And that's huge. I'm going to talk about another, getting into kind of my section here. Your timestamp, folks, would be quarter 3, 8:33. I think this is, kind of the game ender. Green Bay goes up 27-7 here. I know, there's a little bit of tightening of butt cheeks, but ultimately you look at like the expected win percentage after you're up 27-7 with 8 minutes in the third quarter. You're up by 20 at any point in an NFL game. You're a pretty heavy favorite. You're up by 20 halfway through the third quarter. There would have to be some pretty catastrophic stuff that would go on for you not to win the game. So 2nd and 15, I believe this was not off of just a loss. I'm pretty sure this had to do with another penalty.
It was it was actually a 5-yard loss. It was a Wilson 5-yard loss in first.
Okay. All right.
I looked this up. I actually looked that up last night.
Because the reason I said that, or the reason I was kind of guessing on that, is just because so many of their 2nd and 3rds and longs were due to penalty.
Yeah.
Was that sort of like a cell reverse kind of a goofy long developing play?
I think so. I did not look up to see what it was. I was looking at play-by-play last night. I saw Wilson -5 on first, but I can't remember the actual play.
Yeah, I think it was sort of some convoluted deal where it just didn't work out very well.
That sounds right. Yeah.
they ran this. So you got basically 3-by-1. Musgrave is in line with Watson, and I believe that's Dobbs. No, that's got to be Melton up top, and
Mhm.
then Dobbs on the bottom of the screen. And you get the Melton jet sweep. Now, the Melton jet sweep is threatening in that they have handed him the ball. I don't know if they've handed him the ball on a jet action, but he has touched the ball. Melton and Reed right now are the two guys out of the wide receiver room that have had the actual what you would call manufactured touches. And in fact, he does the full arc motion and goes back behind Willis. And what I think really sells this one and what makes it such a sicko play is that they pull Elton Jenkins. That's what I think is sweet because, you know, I think even the play that you're going to break down, if you watch the TV broadcast, the color guy, who I can't remember who it was, the color guy was talking about eye candy. Are you reading your keys or are you on eye candy? And Kenneth Murray got caught in the eye candy, and Jaden Reed slips right behind him. You'll break that one down. On this one, you know, are you reading your keys? Well, pulling guard is your keys. That's what that is. I mean, I'm nothing but a former humble high school linebackers coach, but I mean, that's the guards will take you to the ball is something that you teach kids in Pee Wee. So to pull Jenkins and set up what looks like a arc to Melton or maybe a swing screen to Melton and then throw it back across the field, I mean, is awesome. And if you press pause when Wilson grabs the ball, I don't know if you're thinking touchdown because Romeo Dobbs actually kind of misses his block. But other than that, this thing is set up for a really big gain. And you have to give Wilson the credit for the run after catch because he has to make the field corner, or excuse me, the boundary corner miss because Dobbs does go out there and kind of whiff. And I'm not going to call it a block in the back. Dobbs sort of runs him off, but that is a open field play that he has to make. And then his cutback actually makes it possible for Myers to just be an absolutely flawless position to block a
Mhm.
linebacker, and then another cutback for the touchdown. This was a great play design. This was great execution. And then, I mean, Emmanuel Wilson showing what kind of football player he is because, uh, you know, not any back scores on that. In fact, I'm not sure any back is able to even get a first down. That cut that he made the play, and then the rest of it to score. And I got to tell you too, scoring was big. That's
Mhm.
one thing. If I'm going to have a critique of this offense so far and a critique of the first 3 weeks and a critique of this game is I wasn't sure they were going to score inside the 5. When Josh Jacobs up the middle doesn't get you a touchdown, you have to get creative. And Josh Jacobs up the middle was not getting you a touchdown. So even like to get tackled at the 1, there's no guarantees. So scoring from far away, um, I think had value because you saw. I mean, they only had 2 touchdowns in the game, correct? The Malik Willis option read,
Mhm.
and the Emmanuel Wilson touchdown to go with the Jair Alexander touchdown. Um, Red zone offense has been a little bit inefficient. I think that can get worked on, but right now it's just like, hey, if we run Josh Jacobs up the middle, Josh Myers and the 3 guards aren't moving
No, that's a no gain. That's a
enough
no gain probably.
people. So, any thoughts on this one, Dusty?
No, I mean, we've talked about the screen game before. I mean, you mentioned the cuts. Good contact balance by Wilson on that as well, because he doesn't get hit and kind of knocks a little off balance and stays upright. I think after he has the first down at that point. But we've talked about the screen game before about how it's not been great in Green Bay after that being their bread and butter. I mean, from my childhood for sure. So this play brought to mind, it was like, is that Dorsey Levens out there? Is that
Yeah.
Dorsey Levens on the screen out there? It was very nice to see. It was, like you said, well set up with a lot of the eye candy and stuff there as well. And then getting those blockers out. I think Myers got a little delayed getting out. He kind of got hooked trying to release on that, but that little cutback, like you said, put him in great position. It was well set up, well designed, like a lot of this offense was this past week.
It was all right. Break it down. The opener, and I loved this one. I think this is really mean. Kenneth Murray has not had the career that draft
No.
people thought draft people figured. All I could think of when I saw this on the All 22 is the Adam Sandler remake of The Longest Yard. and they're setting up for the onside kick, and the guy goes,
Him.
"There's my bitch." I'm sorry, Andy, but when I thought of LaFleur like watching their linebackers and go, "Oh, 56. Yeah, we're first play. You're my guy." And
Mhm.
go ahead, Dusty.
Well, it's like that's the Stephen Ruiz meme as well, right? With the Kyle Shanahan looking in the microscope, and that's the yeah Kenneth Murray just sitting right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a beautiful way to open this. Again, if you're looking at timestamps, it's real easy, man. It's 15 minutes remaining in the first quarter.
115. Yes, post touchback.
It is very easy. It's the very first play of the game. So Packers come out in 11 personnel, but it's like a tight 11 personnel. They've got I think it's Musgrave in line on the right. Maybe that's Kraft. I guess I could probably look that up. I do have the film here in front of me. That is Kraft, who kind of motions and settles up in line. They've got Dobbs was like the backside X, isolated wide on the left. Then you've got a really tight stack right off the right side with I believe that's Watson and Melton, if I'm not mistaken. Watson and Reed. Sorry. So you've got this tight stack. You've got the Titans are in 11, or the Titans are in. It looks like too high. So they've got too high, kind of inviting the run. And I assume it's kind of what the I know what you know that I know that you know. Packers are not going to be able to run up the middle on them. They also have seen what the Packers like to do. What the Packers like to do when they attack the edge, they like to do that, whatever you want to call it, pin pull, crack toss, whatever you want to call it, where you got and the way they've got this set up, where you've got those two receivers on the right with Kraft over there, it certainly looks like, and they end up running Reed around, I think. What they end up doing, it looks like what they're going to do is they're going to crack down that right side with Reed, and then you're going to pull. In the past, they usually pull the tackle, so it'd be Tom on the right side there. Here, they pull Myers, and so it looks like what they're going to do is pin pull. Titans know this, so they go too high, but at the snap they spin down. So they go single high. They're spinning that guy down to take away that alley, basically fill that alley for the pin pull. Packers do that. They pull Myers out. You mentioned the Jenkins pull in the last one. They pull Myers out, so you're getting the key on the defense. And it looks like he's going to kick out. He's going to pull. You got Reed releasing on that pin. You've got Josh Jacobs in the backfield offset to that right, which sets up nice for a toss. Willis does a nice fake toss to Jacobs, who sells it, gets his hands out and everything. So you get the defense reading. You've got those two linebackers in the middle. You got the safety flying down. He's filling the alley. They're looking for pin pull. They're looking to attack the edge. Reed does not crack. He just veers a little bit. Reed kind of comes up, looks like he's going to block, simply sneaks underneath. By the time anyone knows what happened, Willis, little pop pass to Reed over the top, past the linebackers. Reed gets 30 yards. Like a really, really nice way to play off of the Titans. Again, the Titans knew they were not going to run up the middle just based on that interior of the line. They also knew to attack the edge. They like the pin pull. Packers come out the gate, little eye candy, make it look like pin pull, and then you just pop the guy out the other way. Like just a beautiful, beautiful way to get this game started based off of everything they showed last week.
I agree, and once again, one read. I don't think there was a second
No.
not I mean, obviously when your first read is wide open, you just throw it. But what I'm saying is like this was not a half field read. This was not a progression. This is what we're going to do, and he's going to be open. And if he's not, well, I don't know what the answer is. But
Yeah.
more often than not, those plays ended up being successful. Those plays ended up working out. Those plays ended up being whatever. Those plays, that they have worked. We didn't break down and haven't maybe even for 2 consecutive weeks broken down any defense. What did you see when you had a chance to kind of watch the defensive side of the ball? Any takeaways from the film?
No, I mean the pass rush, it's one of those games where like the pass rush was, not great at the beginning and they wore him down by the end, but what do you take from that? Because the Titans line is awful.
Yeah.
But the pass rush needs to be good for this defense to work. Pass rush was good. I mean that job pick six. I mean, I was talking to my brother, we were watching the game together. That didn't happen under Barry because it's all they sit back and wait, right? You make the tackle in front of you. So that we're seeing that aggressiveness kind of pull off already, where you've got those guys in guys' faces. We're under Barry. That's kind of you're sitting back, that's soft. He's not in a position to jump that. And so we're seeing some stuff there. And then I mean, last point, shout from the rooftops, man. Listen, Edge Cooper got some more snaps here, and Edge Cooper moves at a different speed than every other person on that field. Him playing the run, him playing the pass. Now I think he overran the tackle on this one, which he did the previous game as well. But that's whatever. That's a nitpicky, man. You're playing that fast. You're going to make a couple of mistakes as a rookie. I watch that guy. I've 3 weeks now. I've watched every snaps of him, and I think the 18. I think this week, like more than he had played in the past. get that guy in the field, man. Like that guy is just a
It,
big play waiting to happen every time
yeah,
he's out there.
it should be 40. If it's not every down, which honestly it should probably be, because I can't think of a, unless you're just still concerned that he is a little slight, and you look out there and he looks slight. I mean, he looks smaller for a linebacker, but I mean, I don't think there's I don't, if you're going to play 65 snaps, I can't believe you're going to be better off on 47 of them not having Edgerrin Cooper on the field.
No.
Um, and I think he's shown that too with his ability. I mean, some of his plays were downhill run defense, right? And um, picking the right gap and mirroring the back. And, I'm not saying he's taking on a guard in the chest, shedding him, but those linebackers aren't real anymore.
We don't have those linebackers.
So it's right. And that's a great point. It's not like you're taking somebody off the field who can do that, because you're not. And
well, and even if the argument's like some like McDuffie, well, the argument you hear about McDuffie, who I think has been fine, is like, well, he knows halfway scheme and like he knows where he's supposed to be. Yeah, that's true. He still didn't know he was supposed to be on that touchdown pass. Like, I'd rather a guy with freak athleticism figure some of that stuff out rather than like a guy who is limited athletically, assignment sure, but not always assignment sure. Like, I'd rather have
yeah.
Edge Cooper out there than that guy.
Yep. The last thing I'll say too is just, it's crazy. So to me, there's a TV copy version of this feeling, and then there's an all 22 version of this feeling, which is on the TV copy. I know, look, it's Will Levis, right? And I think there was probably a deep ball given up by Green Bay against Philly. There wasn't against Indy. There wasn't in this game. My concern when the ball goes deep from the other team is just at a different level of low this year, with the way that those two safeties are playing, specifically, obviously Xavier McKinney. And then you put it on film and it's like, my gosh, Andy Herman did a great job of pointing this out in the preseason. Of course, the rookies could have whiffed, right? Like Goody could have made some bad draft choices. I think the risk reward on McKinney was pretty low, right? He's been scheme specific. He's had a number of defensive coordinators because the Giants have had a number of staffs. I don't think, like, sometimes, right, like you'd get a Belichick DB to go to a different team and it would be like, oh man, this was coaching, right? And I didn't think that was really a scary part of the McKinney acquisition, but just the gap, and I don't mean to dump on Darnell Savage and Jonathan Owens and Rudy Ford and et al., right?
Just name all. Just right. I don't mean to dump on all these guys. I will name by name.
But this is night and day, okay? And you saw early the Titans had a circle on Green Bay's linebackers, and I think Philly had a circle on Green Bay's linebackers, specifically the way they use Saquon in the passing game. And are there answers? Well, right now there's two guys drafted in the top 100 that aren't playing, so maybe there are answers. Maybe there aren't. It's possible that there aren't answers, but you saw some dime usage. I think that's going to be a useful thing to get those linebackers out of pass coverage situations. Now you have to be able to defend the run, meaning you have to be in a down and distance that you're allowed to use dime. You can't use dime on 3rd and 2. You know what I mean? But or 2nd and 5, right? Like that kind of stuff doesn't work. But the safety group, because the linebackers were just as much of a problem last year. So when the safeties were also a problem, that just led to this middle of the field cavern, and at least part of the cavern has sort of been closed. And I appreciate what Bullard and McKinney are doing, man. And that's week in, week out. And then the other thing, like you said, is just, I believe them. Okay. People got concerned about the pass rush. We were told we were mush rushing. It was Jalen Hurts. It was Anthony Richardson. We were containing. Well, you go give me 8 sacks. I don't care who the line is. You go get me 8 sacks. I'll believe you that your pass rush can still pass rush. So that's what I got out of the film.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do it again against like you said, 8 sacks is 8 sacks. That's amazing. I would like to see him do it against like a competent offensive. This is the worst offensive line in the league. Like, which being under Callahan is kind of shocking. There's not the pieces right now to do anything about it. So
the Vikings thing will be interesting, because on paper, coming into the season, I would have put them right there with the Lions and the Eagles as far as a tackle tandem. Like, I have a very strong, high opinion of Darisaw and O'Neal. Now, their actual like pressure rates, if you look at some of the PFF stuff, have not been actually great. Like they're kind of and the interior of that offensive line is still bad, but you can normally figure that out. Like if your two tackles can block,
Yeah.
you can kind of figure. Now, if Kenny Clark is going to have a little bit of a
This is it.
resurrection and start forklifting Garrett Bradbury into Sam Darnold again, that's problematic. But yeah, better offensive line here in Minnesota coming up, and certainly, like I said, like I have a very high opinion of the two tackles. Darisaw and O'Neal are good players.
Agreed.
All right, folks, thank you so much for watching or listening. If you are on the podcast side, you can find me. I am at Ross Uglum on Twitter, now known as X, and he is at Dusty Evilly. Have a great rest of your weeks, folks, and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.